The story begins with our main character Eileen, devastated because her fiancé Prince Cedric announces that he wants to break off their engagement. He wants to be with another girl called Lilia, but Eileen is confused and thinks she has seen this dream before so many times. Eventually she understands what's going on, realizing she's in the game she was once obsessed with in her past life. This dissolution of their engagement is an event from the game's second act, so Eileen handles this situation by leaving without causing a scene. Seeing this, everyone including the prince are shocked. Eileen realizes that this is the world of Otome game. As per the game, Lilia is the female lead who will fight with the awakened demon lord, while Eileen is the villainess who dies at the end, at the hand of the demon lord. Knowing that her fate is to die, Eileen thinks about what she can do under these circumstances to survive. She remembers that the bad ending for her is triggered by the awakening of the demon lord, so she will have to stop the demon lord from awakening. She goes to the demon lord's palace, but stops at the door, unable to get in. There's a voice offering to help her, and it's the demon lord who smashes the door open. Eileen is scared, but as she looks behind, she sees the demon lord and finds him to be so handsome that she was shocked and mesmerized by his looks. He asks what she wants with him, and Eileen asks him to marry her. There is a strike of lightning as the demon lord is shocked at the request, and Eileen faints at the sight. There's a flashback to Eileen's past, where we learn that no matter how hard she tried, she could not keep up with her brothers and she felt like she had no value, until Prince Cedric proposed to her. This was the first time she felt valued, and becoming the empress became her only dream. She worked hard for it, but ended up seen as an arrogant woman. When Eileen wakes up, the demon lord is with his two aides, Keith and Beelzebub. He is not angry about the proposal, just shocked. They ask if he will marry her, but he says no, because it could be some kind of trap. But Eileen says that she came by her own will. We learn that the demon lord, Claude Elmire, is actually Prince Cedric's half-brother, and his demonic nature was discovered when he was 10 years old. He was stripped of his position and banished to an abandoned palace. If his hatred for humans awakens, he will transform into the final boss dragon that kills Eileen. Eileen proposes once again, causing Claude to blush. He asks if this means she likes him, but she says no, confusing him. Eileen even tries to threaten him with a sword, but he sends her home with his magic. Eileen's father tells her that she's been invited to the banquet for Cedric's engagement with Lilia. Eileen goes again to the forest but can't find the palace due to its magical barrier. So she catches a demon crow with a cookie which had a sleeping pill, and she threatens the demon lord, saying she would make the bird bald. So Claude appears and takes Eileen back to the palace. Eileen asks him if he would escort her to the banquet, but suddenly, the demon bird comes and alerts them that a Fenrir cub has escaped the forest. Beelzebub says he will bring it back, but Keith says his appearance will cause too much of a commotion. Eileen volunteers to go, and Claude asks why she's helping them. So she says that she wants them to owe her a favor and grant her request. Eileen goes to find the cub, and sees some students are torturing the little cub. She scolds them, but they don't listen to her. Eventually the mother of the cub appears, and the students get scared and run away. Eileen helps the little cub back to its mother, and she leaves. Prince Cedric and Lilia arrive, and Cedric blames Eileen that she brought the cub to hurt Lilia. But the demon lord appears, and thanks Eileen for her help, clearing her name. They leave together in a flying carriage, and Claude thinks that Eileen isn't a normal girl. Eileen tries to explain that this is the world of a game, but the demon lord thinks she is making a fool of him, and drops her from the carriage. They fall, but the demon lord catches her, and agrees to attend the ball with her to repay his debt to her. Eileen is happy, and blushes, believing she may be able to escape her fate. Eileen's father tells her that Prince Cedric will be taking all of their businesses according to the contracts. This is a tremendous loss to their family, and her father tells her she needs to recover the loss before the banquet in 2 months. Eileen runs into her reporter friend Jasper, and asks him for a favor. She goes to the palace and asks the demon lord to let her repair his castle. She wants to give employment to servants which were fired by Prince Cedric, and borrow some land in the demon forest. Surprisingly, Claude agrees to her request. He tells Keith to investigate why they haven't been receiving their payments, and Keith believes that a noble has been embezzling the funds. Eileen says that she has already asked her friend to look into it. Eileen's shadow turns into a portal, and the cub she saved jumps out. Claude tells her that he turned her shadow into a demon gateway, so demons will accept her wherever she goes. Eileen meets with Jasper, and we're introduced to Donnie the architect, Ruck the medical researcher, Quartz the gardener, and her friend Isaac. They all go to the palace to meet the demon lord, where Claude warns them not to bother the demons, and that he knows everything that happens within the forest. Donnie asks what needs to be repaired, and the demon lord shows a massive hole in the roof. The castle is being held up with his magic and is in dire need of repair. They all get to work, and Donnie is in charge of repairs. Jasper and Keith is looking into the embezzlement of their funds, and the rest of them are making new pharmaceuticals for their new business. They decide to get into making cosmetics, because it will be popular with the women. Prince Cedric gets informed about Eileen gathering all the unemployed servants at the Demon Lord's castle, and thinks that they are up to something sketchy. Eileen and her team make some products which come out excellently. Everyone is working, and seeing that demons and humans are working together makes Claude happy. But Jasper tells them about a rumor that is going around, that Eileen is after Lady Lilia's life. She has been receiving threatening letters which has Eileen's name written on it. Eileen suddenly remembers that in the game, the culprit was the villainess, but in reality she is not the one who wrote those letters. So she calls for Amun the demon bird to bring those discarded letters from the imperial palace. But the demon lord refuses, worried for the bird's safety, but Eileen convinces him and he eventually agrees. Prince Cedric comforts Lilia, who has been afraid because of the threatening letters. He believes that Eileen is behind it and swears to make her pay. The demon bird manages to grab one of the letters from the palace. Time passes, and it's finally the night of the banquet. Eileen's father waits for her, and she appears in a beautiful dress. She's nervous, which her father finds strange, because he has never seen her nervous before. It's because the dress she is wearing is a gift from the demon lord, and it was received the night before, so she had to change up her makeup, hairstyle, and perfume to match it at the last moment. So she was a little worried about how she looked. Her father tells her she looks stunning, and they arrive at the banquet. Inside the palace, all the girls are talking about Oberon skin products. The girls say that only a few selected can get their hands on it, and this increases the curiosity of the girls for Oberon. Her father says he has never heard of the company before, but Eileen tells him it's actually her company. She is happy her plan is working, and they will soon recover from their losses at this rate. Her father takes his leave, and Eileen talks to Isaac. She is pleased that their product is successful and asks if he has investigated the threatening letters. Isaac has discovered the culprit and gathered evidence to expose the truth at any time. However, he has some bad news and tells Eileen that Lilia has gone missing. Eileen remembers that in the game, she wrote the letters and hired goons to kidnap Lilia. Isaac tells her that Prince Cedric has sent some soldiers to the demon forest, and Eileen gets worried about Claude. Isaac tells her not to worry, saying he wouldn't lose to some knights, because he is after all the demon lord. Eileen knows that if things continue like this, she will end up as the culprit. She tries to think of a way to turn the tables, but suddenly Prince Cedric tells his knights to capture Eileen. Meanwhile in the forest, Beelzebub finds Lilia in the forest while patrolling, and he takes her to the demon lord. He asks her how she entered the forest without him noticing. Apparently she has strong resistance to magic and has a connection to the Holy Sword Maiden. He asks her to leave, but she says that she is worried about him, being all alone in the forest, having to make sure that the demons don't fight with humans. She feels sad for him, but Claude doesn't believe her because he can sense soldiers entering the forest. Lilia tells him it's just a misunderstanding, saying Cedric must have sent them because he was worried about her due to the threatening letters. However, Claude knows the truth, that Lilia was the one who wrote the letters to herself. She says she did it to prevent Eileen from kidnapping her, and she came to tell them that she already knows Eileen's plan. She believes Eileen hates her for stealing away Prince Cedric. She says that she had to meet with him again, and suddenly the demon lord's head goes numb. Beelzebub approaches Lilia, but the same thing happens to him. Claude realizes it's the power of the Holy Sword Maiden, and Lilia says she can make his wish come true, but this just reminds him of Eileen, and it angers him that Eileen was outdone by her. He uses his magic and sends Lilia away. Back at the palace, Eileen asks the prince why he is treating her like this when she is a guest. He says that Lilia is missing and accuses her of being the one who kidnapped her. She asks if he has any proof, but the prince is sure that only she would do such a thing. He says that she loves him and must be trying to get rid of Lilia to get back together. But Eileen tells him that she is already over him and wants nothing more to do with him. Cedric doesn't believe that she doesn't want him and tries to force her to admit that she's lying. Suddenly a butler comes running in and reports that the demon lord has arrived. The roof shatters, and Claude arrives with Beelzebub. He repairs the roof, and everyone is amazed at his magic. He warns the prince about sending his soldiers into the forest. He apologizes to Eileen for being late, and the two walk away. Cedric asks Eileen if she really didn't kidnap Lilia, and she denies it. The prince is confused who would have taken her, so Eileen calls for Isaac. He shows one of the threatening letters, and compares it to the invitation letter for the banquet from Lilia. She proves they are from the same notepad, with matching rose designs, so the culprit is Lilia herself. Cedric is shocked, and Eileen says farewell to the prince. Eileen signs the document that officially ends her engagement to the prince. Eileen is finally a free woman, and Claude offers her the first dance. Cedric can't believe that Eileen has chosen his brother over him. He feels betrayed, and says that he won't let her get away with this. Eileen thanks the demon lord for escorting her, and mentions that Lilia was found in the forest. She knows that this was his doing, and asks what he thought about her. She gets worried about Lilia, because she is the heroine that can trigger the worst ending for her. But Claude snaps her out of it, and says that Lilia isn't his type. Eileen asks about what they talked about, and he tells her Lilia said she would help grant his wish. Eileen knows that his wish is that demons and humans don't give up on each other, and this surprises him. He goes to give her a farewell kiss, but as he does, Eileen suddenly recalls how he loses his faith in humans when the one human he trusted since he was young ends up betraying him. The next morning, Eileen pays a visit to a sleeping Keith. Beelzebub holds a knife up to him, and Eileen questions what he's been up to. We learn more about Keith. When he was young, he fell into a pond, and the demon lord saved his life, using his magic in front of all the servants, which ultimately led to him getting banished. Keith admits he's been selling demons, but Eileen knows the truth, shocking him with the contract for the demon lord's land. Apparently Keith had forged the contract and ended up getting blackmailed over it. Trying to avoid her bad ending, Eileen swears to help Keith. Later, Eileen recalls an ending from the game. Lilia and Cedric investigate the secret demon trade. They discover that Keith is the culprit and report him to the demon lord. They then catch him in the act, and the demon lord kills Keith, losing his faith in humans and transforming into a dragon, at which point Lilia kills him with the holy sword. Eileen is determined to stop this at all costs. She meets with her team, and they prepare a plan. Keith joins them, but soon the demon crow appears from Eileen's shadow, alerting them that they are under attack. Cedric and Lilia meet with Claude. They tell him about Keith's betrayal, but Eileen soon arrives. Cedric says that selling demons is a violation of the non-aggression pact with humans, but Eileen reasons that it is only a moral issue, and not a violation of the pact. Lilia is shocked to hear this reasoning, but Eileen insults her and says it's none of her concern, causing Lilia to cry and run away. Cedric chases after her, and soon Keith enters. Keith is about to confess, but first requests to finish his work with Eileen, which the demon lord allows. Keith continues to sell demons as normal, while Eileen and Beelzebub watch from a distance. The event occurs, just like in the game, as the noble arrives. But when Eileen looks for Lilia, who should be watching from behind a bush, she isn't there. Keith proceeds with the plan, demanding the noble hand over his account book, but when he refuses, Beelzebub throws a fireball into the sky, which explodes with light, and Keith takes the opportunity to grab the book. He makes a run for it, and shows off his skills as he fights off the henchmen. Keith prepares for the second part of their plan. Because of the non-aggression pact, demons are not allowed to attack humans. However, Isaac suggests that there would be no problems if the demons dug holes or accidentally dropped chemicals onto people. The henchmen fall into their trap, and the demon crow dumps a mysterious substance onto them, which blinds their vision and makes them sneeze. Eileen worries this might be overdoing it, but they catch the noble and his men. Eileen is glad that this should stop the demon lord from awakening, but suddenly Keith gets knocked out while Cedric and Lilia appear. Lilia takes out the holy sword, but Beelzebub charges at her. Lilia panics and cuts him. The cut burns him, and Lilia becomes distraught, as she had only intended to use her sword as a threat. Prince Cedric grabs Eileen, telling her he will make her his second wife, and knocks her out. Keith and Beelzebub report back to Claude. Keith admits his betrayal and apologizes he couldn't protect Eileen, who helped to redeem him. He tells him that Cedric kidnapped Eileen, and Claude quickly teleports to save her. When Eileen wakes up, she finds herself chained to a bed. She asks what Cedric is planning, and he tells her that this is the only way for the Emperor to accept Lilia. The others leave the room, and Cedric begins to undress Eileen, but soon, she is found by the Demon Crow, who alerts the Demon Lord, and the room begins to shake. The room is torn apart as Claude descends from the sky. He sees Eileen chained up and becomes enraged. His hand transforms, and he blows Cedric away. As he confronts his brother, Claude begins to awaken, and Eileen realizes that she has become the trigger for his awakening. Lilia rushes to Cedric, and he tells her to ready the holy sword. Eileen realizes that their plan was to make Claude awaken, so Lilia can slay him and be recognized by the Emperor. Claude continues to lose it, and keeps transforming. The Demon Crow manages to break Eileen free from her shackles, and she tries to get him to calm down, but he can't control himself and completely transforms into a dragon. Lilia plans to end his suffering, but as she charges at him, Eileen jumps in the way and gets stabbed. Lilia is shocked and tries to pull out the blade, but Eileen grabs onto it. She thrusts it into herself, saying she also has the blood of the Holy Maiden, and claims she will be taking the sword. Lilia can't believe what's happening, and Eileen tells her that she is the real main character. She absorbs the sword, and rushes to the Demon Lord. She begs him to return to his human form, and as she cries, her teardrop falls onto him, and he is able to transform back into a human, and Eileen is able to achieve an ending that was never in the game. Back at her home, Eileen rests, and her father tells Claude that Eileen decided not to expose Prince Cedric's actions to the public in exchange for his right to inherit the throne to be reinstated. Claude says he has no interest in the throne, but Eileen's father tells him that he will only give his daughter away to the Emperor. So he changes his mind and agrees to become the next Emperor. The Demon Lord becomes the Crown Prince and officially gets engaged to Eileen. Eileen teases Cedric about supporting his brother, and Claude lifts Eileen up into the air. Eileen gets embarrassed, and Claude tells her she can run, but Eileen corrects him, saying she is the one that has caught him. We see Claude getting exhausted from his duties, hugging Eileen for comfort, but she pushes him away when Keith walks in, and he reports that Ashtart, the demon representative of Macheta, attacked a human village. We learn that Macheta is the background of the sequel game, which is about how the demons lost their ruler and destroyed the Duchy of Macheta. Eileen realizes that if that happens, Claude will be criticized and unable to become king, leading to another bad ending, which she needs to prevent. Claude reads out the statement, which mentions that they don't accept him falling for the Holy Sword Maiden, threatening to kill Duke Macheta if he doesn't present the maiden's head. He orders Keith to prepare emergency measures, prompting him to dispatch Beelzebub and Amon to the attacked village, and Eileen wants Jasper to call for a gathering of relief supplies and funds. Claude explains that he will act as the Duke's proxy to catch Ashtart, and has already laid the groundwork for the plan with Cedric's help. Eileen offers to join him, but everyone disagrees with this, since the region is not safe for women. Eileen remembers that demon incense is being used in the region, which causes demons to lose rationality and humans to become stronger. She fantasizes about Claude and demands to go with him, but he refuses. She proposes a trial instead, where he can't teleport to her during that period, or she will break off their engagement. Eileen uses this as an excuse to disguise herself as a boy and infiltrate the academy to do her own investigation. In the academy, she sees a boy mistreating his fiancée, so she grabs him, demanding that he apologize to her, but he refuses. She realizes that male chauvinism is rampant here, and mentions that she has no plans to follow the maiden's old teachings, as she advises the girl to break off her engagement. Everyone stops to observe the scene, while Isaac, who is also disguised as a student, calls her an idiot for not laying low. The student vice president August takes Eileen to the student council, where she meets Walt and Kyle, who are among the main love interests of the sequel game, along with August, who slays the demon lord with the holy sword in the best ending. The president James enters the room, and we learn that he's a half-demon who was supposed to become the Duke. But since he's constantly a target of assassins sent by a powerful church, he eventually announces himself as the Demon Lord's successor and attacks the Grand Duchy. Since he's the final boss, she plans to tame him, to stop him from reaching a bad ending, so that she can help Claude. James addresses her and talks about her recent actions, but when August tries to defend her, James interrupts him, telling her not to act on her own. Eileen goes to class, where she finds her textbook torn up, and she sees a group of boys laughing at her. The girl from earlier checks up on her, and she realizes that the girl is Rachel Dennis, the villainess of the sequel. After class, Eileen notices the heroine, Selena Gilbert, being given a letter from another girl, who asks her to pass it to August. August comes to check up on Eileen, but they're interrupted as Selena asks him to walk home with her, to talk about the requests she's gotten from other girls. He suggests holding the discussion in the student council room, because he doesn't want people to get the wrong idea, and Eileen realizes that things aren't going according to the original plot. Selena gets annoyed, advising him not to be friends with people who badmouth Lady Lilia, and August explains that Selena admires her a lot and believes that Eileen is the worst villainess of all time. Keith informs Claude of the Guardian Association, asking to meet him, and Claude asks if he can send a letter to Eileen using magic. Keith thinks it's a bad idea, so Claude tells him to have Amon deliver it instead. Keith informs Claude about the son of Duke Machetta's recent investments in the church, in an attempt to assassinate his nephew James. We cut to Eileen, who shares her plan with Isaac to join the student council, but he reminds her not to stand out. She explains that she's distracted by Claude's romantic letter, unsure of how to reply, and August recommends her for the student council upon hearing her request. James is reluctant to let a foreign student join the council, but after hearing the opinions of others, he decides to test her abilities before making a decision. He tasks her with investigating an alleged attack on a female student by a vampire demon, an incident that the Guardian Association blames on the Demon Lord. Eileen accepts the task to clear Claude's name and requests to create a security force. So James gives her a document, telling her to get it signed by the proxy director of the academy, who happens to be Claude. Eileen visits him in a duck costume and attempts to persuade him to sign the document using boards, which Claude finds suspicious. But he gets distracted when Amon arrives with Eileen's letter, prompting him to quickly sign the document so that he can read her letter. But he realizes that her response letter doesn't contain anything, causing him to feel sad, and it begins to rain heavily, so she decides to rewrite her letter to make the rain stop. She goes to investigate the case with Isaac and finds Rachel being threatened by Professor Koenig, who reveals himself as the culprit. Walt appears behind them and suggests arresting Koenig, but he holds Rachel hostage, so Eileen kicks him away. She follows Koenig to a field covered in demon incense, but she realizes that he's already been taken down, as James appears in his demon form. Eileen realizes that James isn't a complete demon, so she lets him escape when she notices Walt coming close. He accuses her of letting the demon escape, but when she denies it, he opens her shirt, allowing him to confirm his suspicion that she's a woman, and he questions her identity. She tells him that she knows his secret identity, saying he and Kyle are demon hunters sent by the church to infiltrate the school and kill the demon lord. She promises to keep his secret, under the condition that he doesn't tell anyone about her identity, and Walt agrees to this. They return to the academy, and Rachel explains that she was trying to protect her friend from being beaten by her fiancé, and Koenig took advantage of her, under the pretense of helping her. Walt explains that the professor is a gambling addict who is drowning in debt, and he even smokes a weird pipe, so Isaac suggests that they can destroy the professor without publicizing the case. The next day, Isaac announces success in trapping the professor, and reveals that Koenig was found with demon incense in the weird pipe. They decide to set up the whole case as an accident, to prove the victim's innocence, and figure out a way to annul Rachel's engagement. As she overhears the discussion, Eileen sees Rachel's uneasiness, and assures her that she can trust them. She expresses her desire to be a strong person who can save other girls, and decides to announce the annulment of her engagement. She asks Eileen to let her join the security force, and Walt welcomes her, implying that he's joining as well. Eileen questions his motives, but he teases her, and they get to work setting up the classroom as their office. Walt asks Eileen how she plans to report the incident, and she says that she will report the truth, but will suggest keeping things quiet, since the real culprit is still on the loose. The next day, Eileen finds students laughing at a letter posted on the bulletin board and realizes it's the letter that the girl gave to Selena. She tells the students to step away, but they refuse, so Kyle walks over and takes the letter off the board, telling them not to make a fuss over it. Eileen thanks him for his kindness, but he rips the letter, wondering if a kind person would do that, and she says it's the right thing to do. Kyle calls her strange and walks away, but she follows him when she notices cat food in his pockets. She says that she also wants to see the cats behind the building, causing him to become embarrassed. Walt informs them that Ashtart sent another statement, threatening to attack the school during the festival, and Eileen wonders what they will do, so he explains that since the director is bedridden, his proxy will come to visit the school to check on things. We learn that the festival will have a swordsmanship contest, and the church plans to use demon incense in the prizes to turn James into a demon. Another major event of the festival is the ball, along with a beauty pageant, where girls audition to become the White Lily Princess. We see a boy forcing a girl to attend the ball with him, but Selena joins them, asking the girl if she has already decided on her partner. She says that she wants to ask someone else, but Selena tells her that August will be busy, and the other kids mock her for wanting to ask him out, thinking he's out of her league. The boy starts insulting her, but gets kicked by Eileen, who is still wearing her costume, and Selena becomes annoyed. Eileen remarks that her work is more honorable than posting a friend's letter on a bulletin board, making Selena nervous. They hear students announce that the Demon Lord has arrived, so Eileen quickly hides in a bush. Claude admires the academy, and Selena offers to guide him around. But when she tries to flirt with him, he tells her not to talk to him in a cute way, because his fiancée will get jealous, making the girls blush. The student council later discusses plans for the ball, where the director will send knights for protection. Selena volunteers to be the mediator during the event, but the others oppose the idea, thinking it's too dangerous for a woman. She mentions that Claude will protect her, which they find strange, since he's considered as the enemy of the Holy Sword Maiden. Selena explains that he's still human, and that the maiden would try to save him, but the others think that his fiancée could get upset. Eileen gets annoyed listening to them talk badly about her, as August brings out a portrait of her, which makes her look beastly. Selena explains that she will ask the Demon Lord to the ball and become the White Lily Princess, but everyone ignores her. Eileen goes outside to patrol the grounds, and the boys follow her out. James reveals that Claude personally asked Selena to be the mediator, making Eileen jealous. August mentions that this is the first time they have all walked together, and Eileen suggests that they would benefit from getting closer. But she soon realizes that they can't get along, because if they follow the story in the game, they are destined to kill each other. They notice the scent of demon incense, which makes James weaker, so Eileen tells August to take him back to the dorm. Walt informs Kyle that Eileen knows their identity, and the three work together to search for the source of the incense. They find an empty pipe, and Eileen questions the motives of the church. She knows that they're spreading incense to expose the demon, and will be hiding it in the prizes as well. James finds them and asks what a demon incense is, so they have no choice but to reveal their identities. Eileen covers for them, explaining what the incense does, which James links to the recent increase in violence against women at the academy. August offers to help, but James is still suspicious of them. Eileen follows him outside to convince him, but he asks who she is and whether she saw his demon form. Eileen reveals that she can summon demons and assures James that she isn't on the side of the church. She tells him that she's looking for Ashtart, and he reveals that it was the demon name his father gave him. But he adds that he has abandoned this name, thinking someone is trying to frame him. She offers to help him if he doesn't report her to the director, but when James refuses, Eileen threatens to summon a demon, leaving him with no choice. The others discuss plans to counter Ashtart at the palace, and Keith suggests that he patrol the area with Beelzebub, while Claude stays inside, causing him to become frustrated. Keith notices his frustration and asks if he wants to attend the festival, so Claude says he wants to make friends, but Keith opposes the idea. The festival begins, and we see Eileen's security force dressed in duck outfits, confiscating the students' items which might contain demon incense. Claude appears wearing a mask, claiming that he's a passing traveler dressed as the Demon Lord. August assumes that he's working undercover and offers to show him around the festival, but Claude notices Eileen and remembers her as the duck who asked him to sign the form, saying he's curious about her. Eileen gets nervous about being found out, but August reminds Claude to register his entry before they close, and they walk away. Walt and Kyle rush over to Eileen and tell her the church's plans to spread incense at the tournament, using the lanterns on all sides. Eileen worries that Claude might get caught up in this plot and asks Isaac for help, so he suggests using a sleeping potion to keep him out of the tournament. Rachel gives him the potion, and Eileen waits for it to take effect, but Selena arrives to take Claude around the academy. She asks him if he liked the cookie she gave him, and Eileen realizes that she put love potion in the cookie, which may have neutralized the sleeping potion. Eileen resorts to confronting Claude and tries to rile him up by insulting his fiancée, which causes him to teleport them to the arena, where he challenges her to a duel. Claude attacks her and destroys a lantern, which prevents the incense from activating, and Eileen realizes she can use this as an opportunity to disable the other lanterns. Kyle and Walt rush in to help her, and they manage to destroy all the lanterns, but Claude corners Eileen. August jumps in to help her, but Claude tells them that the red duck insulted his fiancée, and he demands an apology. Before Eileen can be caught, Keith arrives with Beelzebub to take Claude back, but Claude tells him about the people from the church who planted incense in the lanterns, and orders them to investigate it. Keith apologizes, and assures them that he will keep the director away from festival activities. August asks what will happen to the finals, so Claude concedes victory to him, saying he defeated his left hand. He tells him they should spar again as friends, and clears up the arena with magic, before flying away with Keith and telling Eileen that he will discover her identity next time. The student council discusses rumors of the church's plan to offer demon incense as a prize for becoming the White Lily Princess, but they can't confirm these claims since the prize is being guarded by the Guardian Association. Rachel offers to help, saying she will try to become the White Lily Princess and win the prize. The others agree because they think she has the best chance at beating Selena. Eileen tells Isaac to help her find a dress, and we later see her in a beautiful dress, determined to do her best. Eileen praises her and teases her to ask Isaac to be her dance partner if she becomes the White Lily Princess, causing her to feel embarrassed. Eileen asks her why she chose Isaac, so she explains that he made her feel proud of herself for standing up to her parents and fiancé by suggesting to break off the engagement. Selena walks over to them with her dress and pushes Rachel off the stairs, while making it seem like she tore her dress. Rachel hurts her leg due to the fall, making her unable to dance, so Eileen comes up with another plan and asks to borrow her dress. The student council agrees to her plan and are shocked when they see her dressed up as a girl. Eileen is able to impress the judges with her prior knowledge of etiquette and enters the running for the White Lily Princess. She meets the student council members, who are in complete disbelief and try to ask her to the dance. She chooses to go with James, and the two dance, while Rachel watches them in awe. The other students gossip about her, but Isaac gives her company and talks about how he's pathetic for not being able to help another girl who was being humiliated like her. Rachel tells him that he's capable of helping people when they need him, which makes him happy, but she gets embarrassed after realizing she said too much. Selena walks over to her and tries to taunt her for not being able to participate, since none of them have a chance against the new girl. But Rachel tells her that she would give up if she was in Selena's place, making her angry. Eileen wins the contest and quickly runs off with the prize, only to find out that it's empty. Rachel informs them about trouble at the stage, where they find Selena announcing the church's intentions of finding Ashtart, who is hiding among the students. She releases the incense, causing James to transform and reveal himself as a demon. Selena tells August to slay him with the sword, while Walt and Kyle point their guns at him. Eileen stands between them, but when James jumps to attack them, she grabs him and uses her powers to subdue him. She tells him that she will protect him and that he can stay by her side if he has nowhere to go, which calms him down, and he transforms back to his human form. Selena insists on killing him, but the others question her intentions, wondering why she had demon incense, as she tries to shift the blame. Walt tells her they aren't her friends, and Kyle adds that since James is in his human form, they can't kill him. They suddenly notice a horde of demons heading towards them after being attracted by the incense, so Eileen reveals her identity and tells the others to head to safety. She prepares to face off against the demons, but Claude flies over and asks what she's doing at the academy. We learn that Claude has already solved the problem, but didn't chase after Eileen when she ran away from him after being found out. She goes to him to apologize, but Rachel asks why she has the duck costume, so Eileen tells her that she hopes to make him less angry by dressing up as a duck. They arrive at the palace, but it's covered in ice due to Claude's mood. We see that he made a cage, which he has reserved for Eileen, to finally fulfill his wish of making her cry. But she argues that what she did was right, since it saved him from turning into a demon at the tournament. Almond pops out of her shadow to apologize as well, and Claude promises to punish her later. Eileen offers James a position as the representative of the future, which annoys him when he realizes it's what she truly meant when she said she would stay by his side. Eileen asks August to be her knight, and Rachel to be her lady-in-waiting, but when she turns to Kyle and Walt, they tell her that they're with the church. She tells them that she can negotiate with the church, since it's currently in a bad position, and have them both sold to Claude. She wonders where Selena is, and Claude tells her they have already caught her, and that he was keeping an eye on her, since he noticed the smell of demon incense all over her. Eileen realizes that Selena was unknowingly following instructions from a letter, which she received from someone who has knowledge of the game, since she knew about August having the holy sword. She wonders who it could be, and remembers that Selena exchanges letters with Lilia, and realizes that she's the true mastermind behind this. Eileen goes to confront Lilia, who shows no remorse for her actions, since she sees everyone as characters from the game, and taunts Eileen for not being able to tell games and reality apart. Eileen tells her that this is reality, and that people could die in this world like any other, but Lilia tells her she will continue playing around, and asks Eileen to join her. Eileen refuses to give her more attention, challenging her to go all out against her, and walks away while she watches. Ashtart announces the end of the rebellion, and the Duke praises Claude and the students for handling the situation, as Claude shows everyone that he aims to protect both humans and demons, bringing them closer to a peaceful relationship. Claude and Eileen prepare to meet the Emperor, but before they get there, he reminds her that she needs to be punished. He kisses her forehead as punishment, causing her to become flustered. He tells her that he's the only one she needs to consider, and she rushes him to meet the Emperor, as they prepare to achieve more happy endings no matter how difficult it may be. Claude meets with Cedric and informs him that their grandmother, the Empress, has summoned him and apologizes for worrying him, advising him that a woman will get bored if he obeys her too much. Cedric tells Claude to be careful of Lilia, since she's plotting something, and they part ways. We see Eileen and the student council investigating an underground auction for a demon snuff transaction. The boys ask Eileen if Claude knows about this, and she says he doesn't, so they tell her to be careful, since she angered him recently. They split up to investigate, and Eileen goes with August, who tells her he isn't used to places like these. They hear a man yelling about demons escaping, and realize it's James' signal, so they quickly get to work, searching rooms for information. They get stopped by a hooded figure, who reveals himself to be a mage, who is on their side. He hands a key to August, and tells Eileen he wants to meet the Demon Lord. He leads Eileen to the window, and tells the two to jump, while he uses the winds to control their landing, but she's skeptical, so she inquires about his identity. He reveals himself to be Eliphas Levi, who she recognizes as the final boss of the spin-off game. She trips over the balcony and falls, but Claude saves her, while accusing her of not being honest with him. Claude teases Eileen in front of the others, so she reminds him that the mage wants to meet him. He recognizes Eliphas as a descendant of the Levi tribe of magic, who were Grand Dukes that waged war against the Empire 20 years ago, but they ended up losing, so their elders and children were taken as hostages, to force the mages to work for the imperial family. Eliphas requests Claude to save his tribe, and give them citizenship when he becomes emperor, and Claude says it will depend on how well he does. Isaac opposes the idea, since he might resent the empire, but Eileen tells him that their goal is peace between humans and demons, which means helping people who have suffered mistreatment. She begins to tell Eliphas more about Claude, but he walks to her and teleports her back to her room, telling her he loves her. She thinks about the spin-off game while in the bath, and remembers an important plot point in it, which makes her desperate to find Claude, but she's unable to use her shadow to summon demons, and Almond flies to inform her about Claude's disappearance, while her father tells her Claude was stabbed and lost his memory. They meet the Emperor, who refuses to let her meet Claude, because he wants Claude to live as a human, so that he will become the next in line, telling her that he will break off Claude's engagement with her. Eileen recognizes the other woman as the Empress, who informs them that she will be holding a ball, where Claude can meet other women, but Eileen's dad mentions that they didn't receive an invitation. She tells him that it would be troublesome for them to be there, but Eileen insists on meeting with Claude to make sure he's okay. She refuses to let her meet him, telling her to back away if she truly loves him, as Lilia and Cedric arrive, and Lilia expresses her concerns over the breakup, which Eileen finds suspicious. Cedric tells his grandmother that breaking off the engagement isn't right, and Lilia requests her to invite Eileen to the ball. She reluctantly agrees to this, on the condition that she doesn't meet Claude before the ball, or she will be executed. Eileen realizes Lilia was behind this, and tells her it won't happen again, while Lilia looks at her smugly, saying she looks forward to it. She and Cedric walk away, but Cedric pauses, wondering if it's really okay, and Lilia thinks he's pathetic, but she tells him he's kind, while he remembers Claude's words. Keith and Beelzebub tell Eileen they're depending on her, and she assures them that she will be Claude's wife. She finds the place where Claude is staying thanks to Almond, and with Eliphas's help, she jumps off the cliff safely, and uses her holy sword to break the barrier around it. Cedric finds them, and surprisingly leads her to Claude's bedroom, but tells them he won't alert them if the patrol comes. Eileen is relieved to see Claude is okay, but he suddenly wakes up, and asks who she is. Eileen starts asking him to marry her like she did the first time, but he says he isn't foolish enough to marry a stranger, even if he's lost his memory. Eileen introduces herself, and Claude tells her he doesn't want to get involved with her, since he doesn't want to become the Demon Lord again, after Lilia and the rest saved him, so she should cancel her engagement with him. Eileen refuses, telling him she loves him, and that she wouldn't have risked her life to come visit him if she didn't, and continues teasing him, which makes him embarrassed, telling her to not act inappropriately with him. Eliphas interrupts her, and informs her that the patrols are coming, so she gets up, promising to visit him again, as she takes some of his hair as a souvenir. She tells him she will win his heart no matter how many times it takes, and Claude is left wondering if it's fate that he will keep falling for her. Eileen gives Claude's hair to the demons, and Isaac tells her she should be more gentle with him, but she says that her priority is to maintain the marriage, since love can be cultivated later. Jasper informs them that Claude will be going out for inspection, since news of his memory loss is no longer a secret, and that Cedric and Lilia will be with him. Eileen thinks that Lilia is up to something, so she asks Eliphas for ways to recover Claude's memory. He tells her he would show him things from the past, but Eileen mentions that he didn't recognize her. Eliphas tells her that it might be due to her holy sword, which has poor affinity with Claude, as the memory loss is related to magic, and he suggests that being around demons will have a better effect in rousing his magic. Jasper cuts in with reports of demon sightings on the streets, which Eileen realizes is the demons' attempt to look for Claude, and the main reason for the inspection. He also hands a blueprint to Isaac, as he asks Eileen what she will do. She tells him about her plan to infiltrate the inspection, and goes to visit Claude, to tell him to keep quiet if he sees her at the inspection. Claude is reluctant, but Eileen keeps teasing him, so he gets up to read a letter, while Eileen offers him apple pie. They hear Lilia and Cedric coming in, so Claude hides her in a closet, as Lilia comes in with cookies. She notices the basket, but Claude tells her he had a maid make him a snack, which makes her feel disappointed. He assures her that he will eat her cookies, and asks for tea as well, which annoys Eileen. Cedric tells him about the change in schedule of the inspection, due to increased sightings of demons in the Imperial capital, while Lilia tries to make moves on Claude. He refuses, saying she should be considerate of Cedric, who tells her that Claude is a modest man, so Lilia gets up to leave, and Eileen comes out looking angry. She tastes the cookies, and promises to make better ones than Lilia's, and leaves out of the window. Claude comes after her, asking if she's serious about dropping by during the inspection, but she disappears. Eliphas asks if she learned anything, and she tells him that she learned how painful unrequited love is, as Almond rushes over to tell them about a fight breaking out in the palace. We see August and Selena arguing, as she asks for her demon incense back, while he keeps telling her to return to Machetta, based on her agreement with Claude. Eileen asks her if she's here to see Cedric and Lilia, to succeed in her plan to become Cedric's mistress, and raise her position as a woman, causing August to become surprised. Eileen lets her go and tells August to return her belongings, except for the demon incense, and she asks Selena to contact her if she has any intelligence to provide, since she can give her what she wants. James asks August if he's okay with Selena's plans, and tells him to face her, so he runs after her. Rachel asks her why she's going after the fiancé of someone she admires, and Selena tells her that she saw Lilia hiring an assassin to kill her, so she doubts her intentions, and feels like she has nothing to lose. August arrives and offers to send her back, but Selena rejects him and leaves on her own. Claude is introduced to the apprentices, and he recognizes Eileen, who is disguised as a boy again. He drags her inside when he gets the chance, and tells her she'll get executed, but Eileen says that she won't, as long as they're engaged. Claude tells her to go back, since he wants nothing to do with her, but Cedric tells him to leave her be, since she's stubborn, and the two start bickering. Claude remarks that they have a good relationship, and he goes away, as Cedric tells her he's uneasy due to her personality. Eliphas comes to report that the preparations are complete, and tells her that the person in charge is a man named Lester Crane, who Eileen recognizes as another character from the original game, and suspects that Lilia tamed him as well. Claude gets in the carriage, and Lilia follows him, saying Cedric couldn't join since he's resting. Claude asks if it's okay for her to be alone with a man who isn't her fiancé, and Lilia tells him it's okay, since they will be family one day. She asks if he's bored with her, but he says that he just feels unreliable, so Lilia moves closer to him, telling him he's an important person and should stay the same, but Claude is unconvinced. Their carriage suddenly tips over, and we see a demon lifted up, in an attempt to bring the demon lord back. Eileen tells Almond to lure it to the plaza, but they find Lester waiting with apprentices, who he orders to shoot the demon. The demon goes down, but Eliphas protects the carriage from falling, and Eileen calls her allies to help take the demon away. Claude steps out of the carriage and sets Lilia down on the grass as the demon wakes up. It goes after him, but Eileen gets in the way to stop it, and Claude orders it to not hurt a human. The demon stops and mentions Claude's wish, which he doesn't remember, and goes after Eileen, who realizes that the demon's hearts are connected to the demon lord, and that they don't need her. Beelzebub appears and subdues the demon, telling Claude that they will always follow his order, so they are willing to disappear if he no longer needs them. Beelzebub flies away, and Eileen turns to Claude, feeling conflicted about her unrequited love, but when she sees Lilia, she slaps him and tells him that she will leave if she's bothering him and won't attend the ball. Claude thinks about Eileen slapping him, while Beelzebub and Keith stand in front of him. He calls Beelzebub by his name, which makes him happy, and Keith adjusts his pillow and gives him his usual tea. He asks Claude if he will break off his engagement, so he says that he doesn't want her to come near him. Keith asks him what he's thinking about, but notices smoke coming from a closet, which Beelzebub burnt, since he noticed poison on the shelf, and Claude asks him to put out the fire. The two turn to him and ask him for his orders, so he tells them to bring Eileen to the ball. We see Eileen angrily filling out paperwork, as Isaac asks her if she's serious about not attending the ball. She says she can work for a living, and won't get punished as long as she's engaged to him. Keith comes in with a package, which turns out to be a gown, that Claude prepared for her to go to the ball. Eileen is surprised, but tries to remain adamant. However, Keith tells her that Claude ordered them to make her attend, saying he's still the same despite losing his memory, and won't give up on things he likes. Eileen reluctantly gets ready for the ball, and thinks about how it's ridiculous for him to pursue her after she gave up on him, and decides to make him regret inviting her. She arrives with a duck head on, saying he only asked her to put on the dress, not to show her face. He tells her to take it off, but she refuses, so he picks her up and takes her outside. He removes her mask and asks if he can hug her. He gets close to her and says her name, realizing she isn't used to men sweet-talking her. He tells her that he loves her and wants to spoil her, but she wonders why he's saying that, so he tells her that despite losing his memory, his love for her hasn't changed. She wonders if he thinks he'll be forgiven after saying that, and he says yes, which makes her angry, and she pushes him away. But he tells her that he'll let her do anything to him to make her forgive him. Eileen tells him his behavior is the complete opposite from before, and he tells her it's because love changes a person. She gets flustered and forgives him, so he tells her to go back with him to the ball and dance to announce their relationship. She tells him to go inside, saying she wants to fix up her makeup first, so she goes to see Rachel. Rachel goes out to get more stuff, and Eliphas enters her room and holds her with a knife. He tells her he doesn't believe in love and puts his knife away, wishing he had met Eileen before he met his master, who he says is a monstrous woman. Eileen prepares to bring out her sword, but Eliphas shows her an image of Amand unconscious, and she realizes he has kidnapped the demons. He pours demon incense on her and calls Lester to arrest her. He announces that Eileen planned to make Claude the demon lord and have demons rule the country. He also accuses her of having relations with other men, and Eliphas tells her to keep quiet, while he apologizes to Claude for sleeping with her. When she tries to deny it, he lies, saying she told him she was lonely and wanted to spend time with him. Claude asks her to tell him she loves him if she wants him to believe her, but Eileen reluctantly tells him she's disgusted by the thought. But before she can finish, Amand appears, telling him that she's lying to protect him. Eliphas kills Amand, but it triggers Claude's memories, and he remembers everything, summoning a storm in his rage. Eileen tells him to stop, and he listens to her, but the Emperor orders the guards to execute Eileen for trying to turn his son into a demon. The others come in to protect her, and Claude tells her to leave, as the Empress orders Eliphas to execute them, while he teleports them to safety just in time. Beelzebub sees them, and mentions that he felt Claude's presence, but felt Amand disappear. However, Keith reassures him that Amand is with Claude, and James suggests they should act quickly, so Eileen asks Isaac if he has an escape plan. He takes them to an underground labyrinth, which will allow them to move freely between the castle and the outskirts, and has enough supplies for half a year. The demons enter the labyrinth confused, and Keith announces that he will be taking over the master's duties temporarily, since he's given the authority by the demon lord himself. He uses his authority to order the demons to flee the castle, and they immediately obey. We see Claude standing alone as Lilia approaches him and pulls out her sword, saying she will make him a princess waiting to be saved. She stabs him, and he realizes that she was the one who stole his memories as she releases a vial of demon incense. Eileen and the others make it out of the labyrinth, but a bird announces the arrival of the Holy Knights, and Rachel offers to act as a decoy so the others can make it to the point of assembly. Eileen protests, but Rachel takes Isaac's approval, and Walt and Kyle offer to stay back, while James comes with them since he can speak with the demons. They ride a large demon to get to their destination, but Eliphas attacks and threatens Eileen to go with him. She uses her holy sword and jumps off the demon with Eliphas holding her. Eileen wakes up in a cell opposite to Eliphas and asks him what his future plans are, since his clan could be wiped out, and he says that Lilia already told him the future can't be changed. She asks if he's with Lilia, and he tells her he has one-sided feelings for her, which she doesn't find amusing. He tells her that he met Lilia a year ago, but Eileen cuts him off as she mimics Lilia's words, and he tells her to not ruin his memories. Eileen also learns that Lilia has regained the power of the Holy Sword, which she gave to Eliphas to do her bidding. Eliphas tells her he doesn't have any magic left to help them escape, because her Holy Sword took it away, which Eileen realizes is the reason why she's feeling energetic. She summons the sword, and uses it to break out of her cell, but before she decides to set Eliphas free, she tells him to beg for mercy for killing Amand. Eliphas proceeds to remove his eye, and offers it to Eileen, saying it's a powerful tool, and can undo the spell cast on Claude. Eileen thinks of Amand, and frees him, and tells him to head to the palace with the crystal. We see James and the others running away from Holy Knights, and when they find themselves surrounded, Selena appears, and tells them to follow her, since she knows where the demon lord is. August asks her why she's helping them, and she says it's because they all hate Lilia. Eileen and Eliphas escape, and she asks him what the Empress is doing with all those mages, so he explains that she's using their magic to maintain her youthful look. Eileen notices the horde of demons led by Isaac and Keith, and asks them why they're heading to the capital. Isaac explains that the demons are on their way to save the demon lord, so she asks Eliphas to send her ahead, and she casts a barrier to block their path. Beelzebub tells her he heard Claude's cries, and asks her to step away, but she tells him to calm down, as Claude would never call for them. He gets angry, and tries to attack her, but he stops, and Eileen tells him she will save Claude, while Beelzebub protects the demons, so he agrees to wait until sunset. Eliphas tells Eileen he can only take one person to the capital, and that the crystal must be placed in the Empress's magic item for their plan to work, but he doesn't know where it is. At that moment, James contacts her through her shadow, to inform her that they have found Claude. But he's heavily drugged and unconscious, explaining that the cry was caused by the demon incense used to knock him out. He says that the cry can be undone if Claude is able to regain his powers, but he doesn't know how to do that, so Eileen asks Selena if she knows where the magic item is. Selena refuses to tell her, but August insists, so she reveals that it's in the North Tower, and he realizes that it's the reason why Holy Knights aren't allowed there, and Eileen proceeds to the North Tower with Eliphas. They find Liliad guarding the tower, and she asks Eileen if she likes the content of the game she has set up for her. Eileen tells her she's putting effort in the wrong place, but Liliad tells her she worked hard, and even took Lester's difficult route to obtain the Holy Sword again. Eileen tells Eliphas to work on undoing the spell, while she distracts Lilia, and asks her why she's standing in her way. Lilia tells her she's the only one who can defeat her, and advises her not to lose too badly, since she's the protagonist. We cut to the demons, as Beelzebub tells Keith that he won't forgive him if something happens. Keith tells him to eat his head, since he isn't a good person, and envies the demons for being able to share Claude's pain, while he feels nothing. Eileen's team arrives with supplies for the demons, and Isaac asks whether they will blindly charge towards the capital after sunset, or work together to save Claude. Beelzebub asks them why they want to save the demon lord, when they have feelings for Eileen, so Jasper says that humans are stupid creatures who can get along with anyone, including demons, which Beelzebub is pleased to hear. Eileen and Lilia fight, but she quickly realizes that Lilia has gained bonus stats, which make her stronger. Eliphas tries to run past her, but encounters a magic barrier that Lilia casts to keep the magic item safe. She charges at Eliphas, but Eileen blocks her, determined to take her sword from her. They continue to fight, until Lilia lets Eileen stab her hand, so she can retrieve her sword. She asks Eileen if she knows who the Holy Sword Maiden is, and she says it's the power of love, as she uses some of Claude's power to take Lilia by surprise, and makes her sword disappear with a powerful blow. Lilia appears to be defeated, but is amused when Eliphas realizes that the door is enchanted with magic. She disarms Eileen, and picks up the sword, while Eliphas desperately tries to open the door using all of his magic. Lilia knocks him down, and tells Eileen she has won, as she prepares to stab Eliphas. Eileen is about to lose hope, when she notices Amund, who is alive and well, and she orders him to save Claude, so he uses his magic to break through the door. Eliphas quickly makes it to the magic item, which turns out to be a clock, and uses his crystal to activate it, reversing the effects of the spell, and the Empress loses her youthful appearance. Lester arrives with the Holy Knights, sentencing Eileen to execution, while Lilia watches happily. But their swords suddenly break, as Claude appears, and orders the Knights to stand down, saying he will be acting in the Emperor's place since he's unwell. He turns to Cedric, who confirms this fact, as he reveals everyone's crimes, and calls out Lilia's lies. He kneels in front of Claude, and takes the blame for not doing a good job at controlling his people, and asks to be punished with his fiancée. Lilia protests, but Cedric tells her he won't let her control him anymore, but his love for her will never change. Claude assures Eileen that everything is okay, and she hugs him. After that, Claude announces his marriage to Eileen once the Emperor gets better. The Levi tribe is pardoned and guaranteed safety, while Amund practices a dance for the wedding. Eliphas's eye is restored, and Lilia and Cedric are imprisoned, while Eileen is hopeful for her future after everything she's been through. She believes in the strength of her love for Claude, and the two get married and live happily ever after. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.